pathological, which it is, like you said, crazy, and it's ill. It really feels like that.
Yes,
It does.
we're all ill.
Yeah, the
I
mind.
know. The crazy mind. I know. That's really like, yeah. I mean, that's what, this is back to both of our bread and butter, and also like my stuff in The Joy of Not Thinking. But it's this idea of like, widely accepted in the East, like of the mind just being like behaving crazy, like the monkey mind, right? And in the West, it seems like traditionally people are like, well, we got to use our mind, and it's there for, and it's like, well, no, a lot of times you don't have to use it. And ironically, like I actually appreciate my rational mind more than I used to. I discussed that in the book. But when we're calm and feel relaxed, we're much more capable of being rational and making good rational decisions, instead of this pathological, overwhelming, thinking that makes it so everything is not clear, So yeah, it's like working to just kind of have that clarity, right? Like is so important, because I totally agree with you. It's this pathological sense of like, what the heck is like,
yeah, it feels that way.
this thinking is out of control, like, so
yeah, it feels
so
that way.
don't think.
Yeah, I love that more and more and more, but we can't really not think. That's interesting.
Exactly.
It is the nature of the mind, right? Too.
Exactly. That's the paradox. But it's so just recognizing how pathological it is, and then continually recognizing it, that's one way to lessen the seriousness of it, and to lessen the intensity of it bothering you when it comes up.
Yes. Yeah. It's the non-identification, isn't it, Tim? That's what I'm practicing now. That doesn't have to become an action, because the mind's always suggesting something. Oh, do this, think this way. And then there's almost suggesting an action from that place of thinking, of crazy thinking.
Right. Of fear, basically.
Yes,
a fearful action.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's it. I can always tell, because what I follow is my guide is love and kindness. So when it's not in alignment with that, then that's when I know, the mind is activated and doing its thing. But it has been interesting to notice those movements.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to cut you off. I was just going to say this connects back with just the feeling good and feeling bad. It's like when we feel bad, we can almost be guaranteed that it's our mind that's overthinking, right? And doing this pathological craziness. And when we feel okay or feel good, it's like, oh, the mind can do what it wants right now. Things are things are flowing. Things are okay. And this is, again, this idea of why we want to feel good, not bad. Because if we feel good, it means we're aligned with our mind. And we feel bad, it's usually our mind is on overload and, freaking us out unnecessarily.
Right. It's operating in its own almost. It's interesting to kind of even contemplate this idea that the mind's separate from who we are, which is not. Everything is, there's no distance really. Everything's happening at once. Now, here, now, which is amazing, isn't it? There's so much to pay attention to listen to, and it's too much. It can become overwhelming. So that's why meditation has been a wonderful practice too. And I'm glad you mentioned that about the podcast, and has become a meditation guide.
Right. I mean, what's difficult, or what I should say is, like, with this information, most law of attraction information, it's not that hard to understand the main principles. It's more like you have to take it in with your, like, viscerally, with your whole body and mind. If, like, it's very easy to get overwhelmed or to think about techniques when we're just using our head. And I would say never use your head when it comes to this stuff if you don't feel good. If you're in a calm space, like, which hopefully, like, my podcast affords you, then, like, you can learn about the, like, subtleties of techniques and stuff like that. But when you feel overwhelmed and I'm like, oh, I'm not manifesting something right, or I'm doing it, that's all, like, you're saying. It's just pathological lies. It's like, always recognize that don't you're not doing anything wrong. It's just your mind on overdrive. And it will calm down again. And it will calm down faster if you're aware of it and let it kind of play out without freaking out about it. And just don't feel any pressure, I guess I would say, in terms of trying to apply the law of attraction, because that's the opposite of what these principles are meant to do. this works best when we feel good, when we feel present, and when our mind feels crazy, it's the opposite of present. So it's enough just to recognize that and just kind of do our best to move through it, and not beat ourselves up about that.
Thank you so much, Tim, again, for everything you do, the way you do it. I love how deep you get, and when it comes to the nature of reality, the non-dual reality. But then I also love the dance between counselor healing, spiritual healing, and doing the work as a human being fully embodied in the experience of being human. So that's really beautiful. I love that dance. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And as you know, there's no real difference between all that stuff. It's just, I think it's so simple to put up these walls and these dividers and say, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, or I'm this or I'm that. And the truth is, we're here right now. That's really the most powerful thing, isn't it? That's the love, that's like, it's right now. Yeah.
Before we say goodbye today, I do have a few more questions for you, the ending questions. But before that, would you like to add anything else that you left unsaid or read a passage in your book, Tim?
No, I don't. I mean, we covered so much good stuff. There's nothing, all I would say is if you have a question for me, I'm usually pretty good at responding to emails. You can contact me on my website, which is radicalcounselor.com. You can, if you have a question for me or, you're interested in coaching or counseling, you can contact me there. And I think we covered a ton of stuff for a short period of time.
Yeah, wonderful. So I'll have the link on your podcast profile. And my last question is, what 3 experiences you wish everyone to have before they lose the body, before they die?
I don't know. I mean,
after all that,
it's only one experience. I mean, my answers are very, very, very boring. I mean, it's like, what I would say is that for each one of us to recognize, if we recognize the moment or whatever we want to call it, it's hard to put to words, but when you recognize, I mean, honestly, if you recognize God, which is the moment, that's it. It's over. And so that is just, and then beyond that, common sense. I just want, people to feel healthy and sane, and to help others do the same thing, the golden rule, do unto others what you do for yourself. But the recognition of the moment, of the self, the capital S self, of God, that, that solves everything, because you realize there was never anything to solve and there was never anything wrong with you.
Yeah, in the first place. Right.
That you're free.
Yeah, that's beautiful.